and welcome to Beyond Homesteading Podcast, the only show teaching you how to get out of the city and into the homestead of your dreams. Today, I just want to take this opportunity to introduce myself and do a short intro episode of the podcast. Let's get into it. So, here we are at the Coughlin family farm, just hanging out today on a Saturday, enjoying the nice warm weather. We've got a little bit of gardening going, started already this year, and we have chickens, ducks, goats, sheep, and a few different meat cows. But we'll get into a lot more detail on a lot of these things. But for now, I just wanted to take the opportunity to explain where I was, 6 years ago is probably where you are now. Daydreaming about getting out of the suburban house and neighborhood that I was in to a place where I can stretch out a little bit and see. I can look out my window or from anywhere on my property and not see a neighbor. And that's not, I don't have thousands of acres, I wish, but this is just with my 10 acres of pasture out in the front here, and it's beautiful. It's quiet, and I love it, and it gives me the opportunity to raise some of my own food and relax and spend more quality time with my family. So if that's something appealing to you, then this is really the show for you. I'm gonna take you through my journey from going back probably like 6-7 years, and where I was just grinding it out at a day job, and how that evolved into living this life now, and how my family has really come a long way in such a short time. So I hope you'll enjoy. I really want you to be empowered and feel empowered to do this, especially if it's something you've had on your mind for a while, and you've been either trying to work out how to make it happen or trying to work out, maybe just trying to come up with reasons or justifications for not doing it. I really want you to realize that it's not just a far off dream. It really is something that is attainable. I never really thought it was possible until I finally decided that I was going to make it happen. That's really the shift in mentality that it took for me to get to where I am. It wouldn't have happened if I just kept waiting for it to happen. I had to do some things to make it happen for me. And I've never been very rich or wealthy, but I have a loving and trusting family, so we were able to pull some things together and make this happen. But it just because it looks simple now because I have what I have, doesn't mean it was an easy journey to get here. But I look around now and I see what's going on in these cities and in these times, and things aren't getting better. It's not going to get better anytime fast. So if ever there was a time to get out of these places, it's now. If you haven't done it already, you definitely need to be working towards that right now. And it's not going to happen overnight, and that's fine. But it's something that you can incrementally work towards if you start now. And some of the first things to do are just making that mental shift to really make it a goal to live this type of life. It's not something that's going to happen for you. Like I was saying, you have to be clear with yourself and honest with yourself and set that as a goal, and then backtrack from there and see how you can make that happen. You may not have the means or the area that you want to live in. You may not be able to afford 40 acres like you have in your mind, and that's fine to settle for something less than that, but really figure out what your priorities are. Do you need to live close to family? That was part of our decision in picking this location, is that it's close to my parents, and some of my siblings. So that was a deciding factor. That's something to consider. It's a much more laid back place than where we moved from. Um, and we'll get into a lot more of all of that stuff as the show progresses along. But um, yeah, so you got to figure out what things are the most important to you, and then work towards those as your goals. Um, it's not really that difficult of stuff, but it's something that you really have to be determined to do. Otherwise, you won't let it happen. Um, it's too easy. Too often we get wrapped up in the day-to-day grind of things, and we just keep hitting repeat and do the last day, all over again. So it definitely takes a determined mindset to make it happen. You're not gonna just wake up one day and live this way if you didn't do a lot of the background work to make it happen. Um, and if you're determined to do stuff like this, some of the things you can be doing now to make yourself more self-sufficient is only going to help you once you get to that property you really want to be on. If it's a property thing, if it's just growing a garden and growing your own food, in that sense, and you already have some land, but now you're like, what do I do with it? We can definitely cover a lot of that stuff too. Yeah, so I'm hoping to do 2 shows a week. One show will be just on how we're doing here, things we do, kind of a DIY stuff, and the other half of the week, the other show, will be just on my story, covering how I went from a 60-hour work week in Connecticut to a homestead in South Central PA where I'm working 40 hours a week at most. So it's all very possible. It's not anything that you can't attain yourself if you really want to. Believe me, I'm doing this with 7 kids and a wife, and we're not struggling now like we were struggling when I was making more money and working 60 hours a week. The time priority definitely has been a huge factor in myself, in my happiness, and my family. So those are the things that are a higher priority for us than the actual monetary gain. We could be a little bit farther along with our homestead if I worked more, but at the same time, would we be? Because I wouldn't have any time to do this stuff. So it's always a trade-off, right? So it's a matter of figuring out what your trade-offs are and where you want to be and how you're willing to get there, the sacrifices you're willing to make. The more you're willing to sacrifice, the faster you can expedite your adventure. Yeah, so um, just to kind of start it off with what's going on here, we have 2 does in milk that we milk twice a day now because the babies are old enough to be weaned. So we get all the milk from that. I'm probably going to try to make some yogurt tonight. We'll see how that goes. I'll let you know. I almost never expect that stuff to go well the first time. I really plan on a good fail the first time and then a success the second time around from everything you learned off your big fail the first time. I've come to just accept that that's the best way to go into it, and if you get any success on the first shot, then just consider it a bonus and not just an educational round. So anyway, the rest of the weekend is going to be laying out some new lines for more pasture fence. Let's see, there was other stuff. Gardening, weeding, always endless weeding. One of these days I'll show you what I'm doing in there to kind of help mitigate some of that with all our waste straw. The bedding from the goat pen especially has been helpful in keeping weeds back, and it also kind of fertilizes everything too at the same time. So I'm a big fan of keeping everything as simple as I can and I guess as automated as I can so that I don't have to do all of the work myself or forcing the kids into slave labor to pick out all the weeds and whatnot. So I try to keep it simple, try to keep it easy. easy and simple, keeps everyone happy. Um, yeah, so for the rest of the day, I'm just gonna hang out around here, hang out outside, hang out with some animals, and hang out with my family. Really enjoy the day, and I hope you will too. Thanks.